The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. Stay tuned because today we're going to be talking to Lynn Johnson, retired director of Lincoln Parks and Recreation, about Lincoln's wonderful park system.
Hello, today I will be talking with Jerry Weberg-Bryce, who is the immunization program manager for the Department of Health and Human Services here in Nebraska. She will share with us why immunizations are so important for both you and for public health.
Hello everyone and welcome to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. It's hard to believe, but summer is almost over. But the good news is that means that Aging Partners exercise classes are going to start up again. Here today to tell us about all of those classes is certified personal trainer and community health educator at Aging Partners, Tracy Foreman. It'll be great. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Barb Tyler. Today I'll be talking with Don Rocky, who's the executive director of CASA, the court-appointed special advocates here in Lancaster County.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. As you can tell, we are not in the studio today, but we still have a great team from Aging Partners and LNK-TV who are here to film us. The reason we're not in the studio is because we're in Bishop Heights Park, which is a little park kind of in south central Lincoln. And I'm here with my guest and friend and neighbor, Lynn Johnson. We live really close to this park, and we're going to be talking about the parks and also kind of celebrating Lynn's retirement as after 22 years as director of Lincoln Parks and Recreation and 25 years with the agency. So welcome, Lynn. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, so 25 years with parks. What are some of the highlights that you saw during that 25-year career?
You know, back in 1992, there was a group of Parks and Recreation Advisory Board members who recognized that the department was going to need a foundation, a partner to help with fundraising. And they got the organization started. It was an all-volunteer organization initially. But really, the Parks Foundation has grown significantly as a partner of Lincoln Parks and Recreation during the last 20-plus years. And it's really allowed us to do major renovations of some of Lincoln's favorite public landscapes, Sunken Gardens, the Heyman Rose Garden, Rotary Strolling Garden, the support facilities at Sherman Field, Centennial Mall, major renovation, and then most recently the Cascade Fountain. So they've become a critical partner. Like I said, it's really allowed us to do important work in the community. And I think one of the things that I would say we're very proud of, and I think the foundation is very proud of, is there's now endowments behind all of those major facilities so that in the future, when they need repair or replacement, there's funding to do that.
Right. I also think that says a lot if you could get your community to support through an endowment. That means people have kind of a long-range vision. And actually in this little park, this play structure back here behind us was built sort of through charity, right? I don't know if charity is the right word, philanthropy. Yeah, so little sort of a local kid was interested in making sure we had a new play structures, and he raised the money for it. And
he did, yeah. Simon Brockmeyer, who lives actually very close to us here, that there had been some playground equipment that had aged out here over time. And Simon was, I think, about third grade at that time, and he came to us and said, I'd like to do some fundraising and make some improvements to the park. And you know, he walked through the neighborhood, they raised funds, and so the bike rack, the bench, a couple of the pieces of play equipment were things that Simon did.
Yeah,
and so much fun, but it's a good example. I mean, that
Right.
really is a lot of Parks and Recreation's work is working with the community to continue to make improvements.
Well, and you and I talked sort of off camera earlier about sort of the nature of this park, which is, what, 7-8 acres. It's not very big, but it is embedded in a neighborhood, Bishop Heights, which is roughly 27th and we're at 30th and Prescott Street. And there's a trail that runs, Rock Island runs contiguous. And then, but this park kind of hitches up through, because of the trail, to Antelope Park, to Tierra Park, which kind of hitches up to Williamsburg Park. And so it's kind of this nice long sort of linear park, and it's part of the structure. But people are using the park every day. You see people here, running their dogs, and the park also it's a watershed. We have foxes in our neighborhood,
Yes,
and many behind us, the sound might be picking up those blue jays. So and you and I've talked about, has the philosophy of parks changed? Are we more interested in sort of multi-use parks? I mean, we talked about the watershed, we talked about the playground equipment. What do we use our parks for now?
A great question, and yeah, that the idea is to get an interconnected system. So as you talked, sometimes it's the drainage ways that connect parks, sometimes it's trails that do that. One of the goals of the National Recreation Parks Association is an initiative that they call a 10-minute walk to a park, and the goal is to have as much of the community be within a 10-minute walk of a park, about a half mile of a park as possible, because getting people out, getting people physically active, they also become kind of the social settings. I can't tell you how many times we've been here and families meet here, and it's kind of that connection place for them. So that's an important part of it too. So it's connecting nature, but it's also connecting people to one another and to nature as well.
And this park's also close to Rousseau School, so I'm sure the school may use part of the park in some of its, recess and recreational activities, which I think is also kind of interesting. And maybe you could talk to how agencies in Lincoln kind of work together. So you talked about the trails. Talk about how Great Plains Trails Network has worked with parks and the schools and other things, and how we all kind of work together on that.
Yeah, the Great Plains Trails Network is a nonprofit organization that is an all-volunteer organization that really, in my mind, is really probably a significant reason that Lincoln's trail system exists. That they do significant fundraising every year they raise money that we were able to match with federal funds, and an awful lot of Lincoln's trail system is the result of that partnership, their ability to raise funds, and then our ability, or the department's ability, to leverage those funds to build the system. You talked about the connection here with Rousseau Elementary. We have an ongoing partnership with Lincoln Public Schools to co-locate neighborhood parks with elementary schools. And we meet with, the department meets with LPS staff regularly, do advanced planning, and as they're looking at development of a new neighborhood with an elementary school, the department is there saying, yeah, we'd love to co-locate a neighborhood park. So it kind of makes the school and the park kind of the focus of that neighborhood.
Well, I actually went to Rousseau. I was there when it opened in 1964, and there used to be trains on this, what's now a trail, and we would, if the trains came by while we were out for recess, all the kids would run over and wave, and I'm not exactly sure when the train stopped running, but then when the trail system started, to me it's a huge amenity for, particularly for my neighborhood, since I can practically see the trail from my house. But I am more physically active because there's a trail and I can just get on it and walk downtown if I want to, which I've actually done. But yeah, I think Lincoln's kind of maybe a visionary community in that. Do you agree? Or
I think that's true. That there's a group of people in Lincoln who for many years have had this vision of an interconnected trail system, and not just for recreation, but also for what's called functional trips, getting to school, getting to work, doing shopping. And I would say that the system really is interconnected at this point. You can get on the trail in any portion of Lincoln and get to just about any place in Lincoln by the trail. The goal, or by trail, the goal has been to have a trail within about a mile of every residence in Lincoln. And it's nice that the American Planning Association a few years ago recognized Lincoln's trail system as one of the great public spaces in the country, and it really is that connecting piece. And it's about physical fitness, it's about alternative modes of transportation. In my mind, it's also about economic development, because it's one of those things that attracts people to Lincoln, that keeps people in Lincoln. And Chris Beitler, you say this all the time, we don't have mountains, we don't have beaches, but we have a wonderful trail system, we have a beautiful park system, we have amazing public spaces in this community.
I think that's true. I know they're doing some studies about perhaps a convention center in downtown Lincoln, and one of the things that they've done some background work on is what convention attendees are interested in, and one of the things is access to recreation and trails. And I know they're planning a park south of the Haymarket area that will connect up to Cooper Park, I think. And I'm working from long-term memory here because I saw a presentation you did on that, and I know that they're thinking about that. But there's also, the trails connect up to the university, to Haymarket, the baseball complex, and then all along Salt Creek. And technically, you could ride the trail or walk on the trail all the way to Marysville, Kansas, maybe?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and now they're talking about trying to connect it up to Omaha. So that's and I've been on that cowboy trail. So trails are cool.
They are cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that we have a commitment to that. So
yeah, very much.
Let's change gears a little bit. So, do you have a favorite park in Lincoln, and why is it Pioneers?
Great question. I've always tried not to say which park is my favorite, because you can't pick among kids, obviously. But Pioneers absolutely is a favorite of mine, and part of it's the history. It was donated to the city. It was a significant gift to the city in 1929. Ernst Herminghaus, who was the first landscape architect in the state of Nebraska, developed the master plan for Pioneers Park. And it's a beautiful example of Beaux-Arts park design. And it's just an amazing space. The fact that it was prairie and now it's a beautifully wooded park, and all of the amenities that it has there. And I would say anytime the department does polling on kind of favorite park facilities in Lincoln, Pioneers Park is always number one.
Well, and it's kind of an example of sort of I guess what you guys call a regional park, but it's also an example of kind of a multi-use park, because there's the golf course, the sort of the ability to hike and walk around, and there's sort of the little zoo, and now this new Prairie Corridor trail that's kind of being developed, once again a trail situation, but I happened to be out there about 3 weeks ago, and I was blown away by how cool that's going to be.
If people haven't been on that section of the trail that's at the far southwest corner of Pioneers Park, you get on it right by Haynes Branch, and then it's about a mile, just about a 2-mile round trip. And you can see the bison in the pastures up at the Nature Center, parallels the railroad tracks, beautiful wetlands, beautiful prairie out there. And it's really, as you said, it's going to be the start of the connecting point of the Haynes Branch Prairie Corridor, and that's a vision of protected prairie along Haynes Branch, and then along Spring Creek, connecting all the way out to Spring Creek, Audubon Prairie, and then there will be a trail that threads through that and makes that connection.
Yeah, I love that, because it just adds to the amenities of that park. I also love that park when you're at the bison statue, and you look and you see the Capitol, you're just like, that is so cool. So, hat tip to Mr. Herminghaus he also did the Capitol environs, right?
He designed the Capitol grounds, and the thing that always amazes me is when he was developing the master plan for Pioneers Park, this Capitol building was under construction, but the tower wasn't constructed.
Oh, yeah.
But he knew where it was going to be and lined up those vistas on where he knew the tower would be at some point.
Well, and there's something about people from Lincoln, when we're driving in from wherever, you're always like, when can we first see the Capitol? I know exactly on the interstate which hill I'm coming over, and I can see the Capitol around Pleasantdale. Or when you're coming in from the south and from Omaha, you can see that.
It's that moment of coming home, absolutely.
Yeah. So Lynn, what do you see as the future for Lincoln Parks? I know that Maggie Stuckey is now the director. She came out of the foundation side. So what do you think? What's your future prognostication for parks?
Great question. One of the things I would say is that there's an amazing team in place, and they're absolutely passionate about parks and recreation facilities and programs in Lincoln. There's great plans in place. The 2050 Comprehensive Plan lays out a vision for parks and trails and green spaces in Lincoln, so this legacy will continue. And I would say that Maggie was significantly connected to the work of the department during her almost 4 years of being the executive director of the foundation, so she's well connected to the work. And Lincoln's a fabulous community. Lincoln supports its parks and trails, so this 100-plus year legacy, actually almost 150 years legacy of parks in Lincoln will definitely continue.
Yeah, that's great. What are your future plans right now?
We're getting out on our bikes a lot, so I get to see a lot of Lincoln's trail system. Probably like a lot of retired people, we're spending time with family. I've got a couple of home renovation projects in motion. We're going to be doing some traveling. I'm doing a little bit of consulting, parks-related consulting as well.
Right, good. Well, congratulations on a fabulous career. That you made a big difference in Lincoln, and I think everybody really thanks you for the hard work that you and the whole department does, because it does just really improve the quality of life here and sort of keeps Lincoln a great place to live. So thanks.
Kim, thank you. Yeah, it's been a great pleasure.
Good, thanks. Thanks for being my guest today.
My pleasure.
Thanks. And I want to remind everybody watching that it's never too late to live and learn.
My kid has been asking for this hot new gaming thing, and I was like, okay, he had a birthday coming up anyway. So I finally find the video game online, in stock. Thing is, it was from this shoddy website full of typos. That's when I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Bogus website, this is a shopping scam. Got us matching t-shirts instead.
Recognize fraud sooner,
He loves his.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hello, I'm Barb Tyler, and I'm delighted to welcome Jerry Weberg Bryce, who is with the Nebraska Public Health Division at the Department of Health and Human Services. August is National Immunization Month. Jerry, can you share why it remains important to keep individuals' immunizations up to date?
Well, there are a few reasons. One of the reasons is that immunizations save millions of lives every year. And what they do is they work with your body's natural defenses in order to build protection. But they also help people live longer, healthy lives, and overall, vaccinations are a good investment.
And there's been a lot of talk about vaccinations around this, and can you kind of tell they are safe? Obviously, I mean, I should say I believe they're safe. But is there any reassurance you can give some people about vaccinations in general, their safety?
Well, I mean, there is a really rigorous protocol and process that vaccinations go through. There's a quicker turnaround, say if they already have a foundational base to build off of, and others just evolve with the times. And so it's just really important that people realize that the folks putting out vaccines are doing their very best to ensure the public's safety, not just from receiving the vaccine, but keeping people safe in general.
And I think you'll agree, but vaccines, they lessen any disease or sickness that you might have. Nothing's foolproof. I mean, you get a flu shot every year. You still might get the flu, but maybe it's not so bad. So It's kind of true with about every type of vaccine. Is that some I guess, are more like polio.
Right. Those are the kind that we've kind of alleviated. You don't necessarily see diseases like polio. But where you have something like the flu or COVID that tends to mutate and evolve, the vaccines are going to change every year because the science is going to try to keep up with that change. So I think that's kind of a discrepancy where people tend to think that, well, they're changing it because they just don't know what they're doing. The fact is they're changing it because they know what they're doing.
Good point. Well, it seems like this time of year is a good time to be sure that families have all their updated vaccinations, since many families have kids going back to school and they may need an annual physical exam for sports or just to go to school. What will healthcare professionals be looking for in this physical or in this vaccination schedule?
So that is what they're going to do. So when people bring their kids into a provider, whether it's their pediatrician, family physician, or it's one of the safety net locations that we work with, those providers are going to look at the child's record and see where they're at within their schedule. They're going to look at their age, they're going to look at what they've had previously, and they're going to see where they're at in the series and make sure that they're caught up. So that's what they're going to be looking for.
And there's some vaccines, as I remember, my kids were many years ago, but there are just some things that you have to have in order to get into school. That's still isn't that still a given? I mean, there's not that many, but there's, because you get them when you're a baby, really.
Right. Right, right, and you usually will get them throughout your lifespan. It's just kind of episodic. So
Okay.
it could be, you know, between the time you're 6 months old to the time you're 3 or 4, and then you're looking at them again, you know, before you go to to kindergarten. You're going to want to make sure that you're caught up, or when you hit 7th grade or go on to college. There's some vaccines that are important to have at that time. You know, sometimes the vaccines will wane, and that's why you'll see them set out and spread out. You know, you'll get a shot maybe when you're 6 months old, but then you'll get it again when you're 9 months old, and then when you're 12 months old. And the reason is because they are the most effective due to that schedule.
Okay.
So that's what the providers are going to be looking for. They're going to look and see where your child is. ACIP is the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices, and that's for the programs that I manage. That's the schedule that we follow for adults and for children, and actually it's kind of the staple for most practicing physicians. So the good news is that there's some continuity there. There's not a lot of surprises when it comes to children's vaccinations. So the provider's going to look at the ACIP recommended guidance and the schedule that they've set up. They're going to look at your child's age, and they're going to make sure that they're getting what they need in order to move forward. And you know, with the requirements of school, we try to replicate that within ACIP. So if ACIP is giving us guidance on what we should do, then we certainly try to replicate that with the requirements to make sure that the science is matching
I see.
the individual.
Okay. So because of the pandemic, which people argue whether we're still in one or not,
Sure.
a lot of people didn't get to the healthcare providers in a timely manner. So in particular, or in general, I guess I should say, what immunizations may need to be caught up on, especially for seniors, and why?
Right. So for seniors, again, there's that, you know, as we've gotten older, you know, the vaccines that we had when we were children starts to wane, and as adults, we get to make more choices, and we can kind of go where we want and do what we want, and so we're exposed to different things. So it's really important that whether it's flu, varicella, shingles, pneumococcal, it's important that you're going into your provider and asking, where am I at on the adult schedule? What vaccine should I be getting? Making sure that you have access to your schedule or to your previous vaccinations. So either a copy you've kept for yourself, or they can look into the NESIS system, which is the Nebraska Immunization Information System.
Well, I know for me, I'm of a certain age now, and when I got my first shingles shot, it was a single dose, and now
Sure.
as time evolved, now it's a 2-shot thing.
Right.
So exactly what you said, things change over time, and
Yes.
science changes. So
Right.
you kind of touched on it, but tell us about the importance of keeping that record of your immunizations. You know, people do
Yeah.
travel and move, but tell us the importance of that.
Well, as you go through life, there are certain things that you're going to be doing that might require your vaccination record. You know, right now travel is really big, so we get a lot of calls about that because people don't necessarily have their entire record and they'd like to have it. So if you're going to travel, if you get a new job, some jobs have a requirement for what
Mine did,
vaccinations
yeah.
you're supposed to have. You know, simply for health reasons, or if you want to go back to school. I mean, it's always good to know. You know, when you walk into a physician's office, it's always good to know what you're going to need to address when you walk through that door. And so having that record is really important.
And that record can be, it was fascinating to me as I was kind of researching this whole topic, that you can, if you don't have a record and you aren't sure, you can have the vaccine, you can take the vaccine again and there's no health complications with it.
Right. And that again, where the expertise of your physician is going to be really valuable, because if you really aren't sure, you don't have a record, it's important for them to be able to make that call.
And I would think too, going into our next question, as you explain a little bit more about exactly what you do with the immunization program, does it cover all Nebraskans? And what about those relocating here, not just say from Colorado or somewhere, but from the refugee standpoint, people
Sure.
coming into this country for the first time?
So there's several things that we do at the DHHS immunization program. It's kind of a big umbrella, and underneath we have several little programs. you know, technical assistant education, as I mentioned, an adult program, perinatal Hep B. But what we're most infamous for, or famous for, I'm not sure how you want to put it, but is the Vaccines for Children program and our COVID vaccine program. So for Vaccines for Children, we have about 300, a little over 300 providers across the state that receive and they can order and receive ACIP approved vaccines to provide for children who are 18 years and under, and they have to meet one of the following, like they have to be uninsured, underinsured, Medicaid, or Native American, Alaskan Native. And then for COVID, you know, that's the other one. We have enrolled providers that we work with, probably just as many, 300. Not all of them are VFC, but some of them are. And they can vaccinate individuals with the COVID vaccine for little to no cost. There's some that might charge for the administration fee or bill insurance, but those providers aren't necessarily in our network. They could be part of the federal program, and the federal program has some different pieces to it that we don't necessarily adhere to. For us, it's about the public health mission and making sure that people get vaccinated regardless of their station in life or where they're at or where they live. So for the refugee population, it's kind of the same mission. You know, we want to make sure that people coming into our community are safe, and that they're healthy, so that they can contribute to our community. And so there is a refugee program, and we work with them and or partner with locations that will provide vaccinations for refugees at no cost.
So probably most people think right now for refugees it'd be possibly the Ukrainians,
Right.
Maybe those from the south of the border. That's probably the biggest thing right off the bat. Lincoln is known for being a city that willingly accepts many different populations. So again, you said you're in in communities right there, so they can get that information there through their interpreters or through their family organizations.
Right, and if they ask somebody that they're working with, somebody that's helping them get located and settled, relocated and settled, you know, if they don't know, they can always call our program, and we would be more than glad to help them try to find a location that can help with that.
Okay. Well, I know we have some different links scrolling across the bottom here during the program. So, and these are good places to get more information, probably the CDC, and they can always call.
They can always call, and even if we don't know the answer, we try really hard to get contact information and try to find the answer, or at least find somebody who might know the answer.
Okay. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for taking time today to talk about the importance of immunizations. And to the audience, thank you so much for tuning in today. And remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
I was doing some shopping and got a pop-up on my laptop. Computer had a virus. So I called the number on the page, and the guy on the phone wants to take control of my screen to sort it out. Then I remember a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Control my screen? This is a tech support scam. Thankfully, my order still went through.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
You're watching one of the many exercise classes that Aging Partners offers on a regular basis. Hello everyone, and welcome to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. Today we want to talk about the new series of exercise classes that are being offered by Aging Partners, and we found the best person possible to help us. That is certified trainer and community health educator at Aging Partners, Tracy Foreman. Tracy, thanks for being with us. What an impressive title that is. I've always wanted to tell you that.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So, we'll talk about some of the classes. Some of them are actually already underway. So you start some of them in August. In fact, there's a couple that started in August and end in August, and this is airing in September. So we'll try to talk about the ones that are still going, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Very few still going, but yeah, we'll start up again in September.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Okay. Good. Now, the one thing, you have some exciting news. I guess it's exciting news. you are planning on retiring, at least in some fashion, coming up in a few months, and so congratulations on that. I know
Thank you.
everybody is happy for you, at least in some fashion. They are going to miss you tremendously, and
Well,
I
thank
know
you.
your students are going to miss you, but you're going to still be around some, right?
I will be teaching in some capacity. I'll continue on because I don't want to let go of it for my own health, but I so enjoy the participants and I want to stay connected in some way. So I will continue to teach. I don't want everyone to say, "Oh, you're deserting us,"
Right.
but I'll be there in some capacity.
Okay. Well, I think everybody will be very happy to hear that. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the classes, and then we're going to give a little demonstration, as we usually do. I know sometimes people go, "Oh, I can't do some of that stuff," and we'll show them that if you and I can do them, then almost
right,
anybody
yeah.
can do them, right? Okay, so let's talk about the first one. It's a classic. It's Dance for Life. It's been around for a while. Tell us a little bit about how Dance for Life is going to work.
Well, Dance for Life is a 1-hour session, and it's done to oldies music, all oldies, so people who love the oldies music really get into it. But I have thrown in some modern music and a few hip-hop songs, so I don't want that to scare anyone off because most of the dance steps are done in modified fashion. So, and we have some people that even do the whole class seated. So,
Oh, okay.
So we have some opportunities for people who have lower levels of ability. So it's just kind of a fun class, 1 hour long. We start with seated warm-ups and then move to standing, do about a 40-minute routine or so, and then we go back to seated. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you if this is something you have to be standing up for the whole time. That can get to be a long hour.
Part of it we do, but as I said, there are some people who are not able to do the whole thing standing. So they just sit down and we kind of talk about what leg movements they can bring in or arm movements.
Okay,
So,
very good. And this is a class, it's at the All Pavilion, right?
Yes.
And it's on Wednesdays from 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning, and it starts September 14th. And as we said, this is airing in September, so if you're watching the show early, it's coming up, and if you're watching
Yes.
it in the middle or towards the late of September, you can still get in it. It's not like you have to be there for the very first day.
right, and then we've added another dance class, and that will be starting at St. Mark's Church on Mondays.
Oh, very good.
That one begins, though, the week after the one at the Ald Center because they're going to be redoing the floors at St. Mark. They're putting pickleball courts in.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
so-
Well, Aging Partners needs to get involved in
That's
that
right.
as well. Somebody
We do.
to teach the pickleball. And
Yeah.
again, this is it's a suggestion, $4 contribution per class for people who are 60 and older, and $5 for those who are under 60.
Yes.
So about as reasonable as you can get for a really nice workout session.
It really is.
Let's talk about another really popular class. That is the Qigong Refresh and Recharge. It's a great class, and it'll be offered at least a couple of times a week. But this is the one I noticed that the Zoom class, part of this has gone away. Talk to us about Qigong and maybe some of the reasoning behind why we're just doing it in person now.
Well, the Zoom class that we had, of course, came about when COVID was
Right.
going on, and so it was a very popular class. A lot of people got on board with it, but as our classes started to open up again,
Right.
then of course they wanted to be in that live situation. So our numbers started to drop, and we just determined that it was going to be probably better to keep the classes live if we could do that and go back to Zoom if we ever needed to do that. So that option is always there, but we're just right now going to be doing live Qigong classes. The question I get asked the most is how are Tai Chi and Qigong similar?
Right.
Tai Chi consists of forms that are learned and then built on. So you learn a form and then build on it and build on it. But with Qigong, we do random forms, both of them meditative practices. They're slower, but really a good workout. As you know, you've
Yes.
done Qigong and Tai Chi yourself.
Right.
So we encourage people who are not able to get into some of the Tai Chi classes to possibly sign up for Qigong because it is very similar.
Yeah, and I will say that even if you are just walking in cold, you are very good about walking everybody through the exercise. There's never this assumption that because other people in the class know how to do that particular movement that you're not going to teach it almost every time. So you're very good about doing that. So people can just come and drop into this class and be fine with it.
Yes. And that is different in some of our other classes.
Right.
But yes, Qigong and dance are two classes you can just drop in on.
Right. And the name sometimes kind of worries people. Are we going to be doing all this strange stuff? And it's not. It's just nice, slow, fun movements. They have some funny names sometimes.
They do funny names related to animals
Yes.
a lot. And yes, Qigong is slow and it's relaxing, but it's also, like I said, a good workout.
Yeah, lots of good breathing.
Yes.
But it does get your heart rate up. I'm surprised sometimes and get the heat going. Okay, so let's talk about where this one's going to be because there's two different locations, right?
Correct. Yeah. Right now we're working on the possibility of a second location though. Right now we just have the one location at St. Mark's, and that's going to be on Thursdays, and that will be at 2:30 on Thursdays starting that second week again. Oops, I'm sorry. Third week because they're doing the floors that same week. So it will be the third week of September that we'll start that class, and then we're looking at an alternate location. So right now we've really just got the one class going with Qigong.
So the one at Irving Rec Center is still in the works?
We are in the works with that, or trying to decide if there's an alternate location.
Okay.
So we don't know for sure yet about Irving, but give us a call. Give the Health and Fitness office a call and we'll let them know where we're at with that.
Okay,
So,
very good.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about a new class. We can talk about it. There are some issues with it, but it is it's called Tai Chi for Arthritis and Fall Prevention. A great class.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, brand new class. We just have newly certified trainers that are going to be teaching the class. Unfortunately, because Tai Chi itself is so popular, and then you add on that Tai Chi for arthritis, those classes, there were two of them, but they filled up very quickly. So what I would encourage people to do is well, two things actually. Call and get your name on the list for Tai Chi, for the Tai Chi for arthritis, and then take Qigong as an alternative to Tai Chi. As I said, they're similar, not exactly the same, but Qigong really is a great practice for people with arthritis and core strength issues and balance, and just like Tai Chi.
And it is going to be offered again because of the popularity of it, right?
Absolutely. It will be offered again, but you'll need to get your name on a waiting list, and there is a waiting list right now. So get your name. I believe they take a maximum of 20 people per class.
Okay, so that's still pretty good. Okay, so we'll encourage people to do that. Another really popular class, and one that's already underway a little bit, is the chair yoga.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, because that's a really popular class. It's been around for quite a while.
Chair yoga, yeah, it has been around, and we've had it for a long time. It's a nice class because it is seated, and so people at all different levels of ability do it, and some of them choose to stand when they're doing it, but most of them are people with limitations, so they get to work into their core muscles and improve their breath and their balance and flexibility, and they get to do it from a chair. So that's kind of a nice option, and it is a very popular class. We are not full with that class, and it is a class that you can drop in. Only our evidence-based programs are limited to a certain number, and they're classes you cannot drop in at. Those are those that are researched at Stanford, and so yeah, but you can come into the chair yoga class.
Okay, and this is at East Ridge Presbyterian Church.
Yes.
It's on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 in the morning, and it runs through August 26th. And just very quickly, let's also talk about really a great service that's offered through Aging Partners. That's the Foot Clinic and the Senior Health Promotion Services.
Yes, our students are back now, so they'll get to have all services. Over the summers, they just do foot care, but now they'll be able to get their foot care done, their bone density, blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure done when they go there, and earwax removal at our downtown location.
Okay.
We have 2 locations, St. Mark's on Wednesdays and then our downtown location on Thursdays. So they will need to make an appointment,
Right.
so they'll want to call our main office and they can get connected with our clinic coordinator, Ann, and
Okay.
she will set them up with an appointment
Good, and,
to come in.
we'll just give you the numbers again, 441-7506 and 441-7575. That's with the 402 area
Yes.
code, and just call and make an appointment. So lots of great classes,
Yeah.
but why don't we give them at least a little demonstration about what might happen in some of them, and perhaps that will encourage them to sign up and come on down.
That'd be great. Let's do that.
Okay, so I forgot to mention that we're in Tracy's fancy TV studio here, not in our really nice Aging Partners television studio. So here we are. So let's do a couple of seated exercises. Those are always kind of fun.
All right, let's start by stretching out our spine and pushing down to the floor, inhaling and pushing your other hand up, and look at the hand that's reaching. Nice long stretch, inhale. And then when you exhale, our hands are going to cross as you change position. Inhale, reach again, push away. If you hear any cracking, Jerry, that's probably me. And then exhale, bring it down. And one more time, let's reach up, push away, inhale. And reach down, hands come together, and then down. Let's come forward on our chair a little bit. This is a great back stretch, and so we're just gonna go into a large circle with our torso here. This one really does feel good. If you're feeling stressed out or you're having low back problems, this is great. I do this in every one of my classes, whether it's dance or Qigong, Tai Chi, and then let's go the other way.
I do this every morning at home, so.
Do you?
Yes, I
Good
do.
job.
It's just a good one to stretch the back out.
It really is. Okay, so there's just a couple of great back and spinal stretches that you can start with from your chair, and then we'll go to a standing position and do a couple there.
All right, so I think we have time for just one more. How about just a nice breathing exercise?
Perfect. Let's go ahead and breathe through our spine, but we'll pull up and lift our rib cage as we inhale up. Now rotate your hands off of your forehead and push up toward the ceiling. Nice long stretch. And then exhale down, rotate those palms up and come down. Inhale up again, up through the center of your body, and then rotate off the forehead, push away, exhale, bring it down, and release.
Yeah, I like this one. I like this one.
It's nice, isn't it?
A lot. We're out of time, as always. It's never enough time with you, Tracy. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Tracy Foreman from Aging Partners, certified personal trainer and a community health educator at Aging Partners. Thanks for taking the time to come talk to us today. And thank all of you for joining us today. Please stay safe, stay healthy. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud, and remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi, I'm Barb Tyler, and I'm pleased today to welcome Don Rocky, the Executive Director of CASA. Don, please explain exactly what CASA is, its purpose, and how it's been involved here in Lancaster County.
Well, great. Thank you, Barb. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. We're a local nonprofit that recruits, trains, and supports community volunteers who advocate for abused and neglected children in Lancaster County Juvenile Court. Our volunteers get to know the children. They have a court order that allows them access to medical information, educational information, and what they do is get to know the circumstances involving the family, what the children need, what assessments might be needed, and then they write reports that go directly to the judge that says, here's what I see going on, here's what I recommend happen next. So it's more information for the judge to make their decision on. We are part of a national organization. However, my CASA for Lancaster County is its own 501c3. So we operate with our own board of directors, but under the auspices of National CASA Association, which provides our training curriculum and standards. So we've been in Lancaster County since 1999 and started out with 12 advocates then. And last year we had 123 advocates assigned to 300 children. So we've grown a lot since then, but we served maybe a little more than 50% of the children eligible for a CASA. So we need more volunteers. We have room to grow.
So I'm just curious, as you were speaking, how are these children selected? Is there a certain criteria that children have to meet to become eligible for an advocate?
The case has to be in court, so it has to have been filed.
This neglect, or is this?
Neglect, abuse. We also work with truancy youth, and we also work with ungovernable youth. Those are the kids that have severe behaviors that the parent has said, here, state of Nebraska, I can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So about 98% of our cases are referred directly by the judge. So we have 4 juvenile court judges. They see a case come in. They see that it's complicated. We don't get, excuse me, we do not get the easy cases. We get the ones that tend to be messier. And then they refer them over to our office, and we get a volunteer assigned.
So these kids could be in foster care as well as still living in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We still skew, sorry.
Yes.
We still skew toward foster care.
Okay. Okay. So what does the typical advocate look like? And you said 123 were involved right now, but what's a typical advocate?
You know, we are lucky because we have anywhere from 21-year-olds up to, I think our oldest one now is 78. So our sweet spot is probably mid-40s to mid-60s, and retired teachers, retired school nurses. We get quite a few. We get quite a few people who may have been foster parents in the past. They still want to be involved, but they can't commit to fostering, but they can be a CASA volunteer and still help.
Mm-hmm. So I imagine these kids can be in foster care as well as at home still?
That's true. The majority of the kids that we work with still are in foster care, but a lot of kids, you know, they can remain in their own home. Safety measures are put into the home, and then, you know, it becomes, you know, can that be maintained or not? Mm-hmm. But yes, a lot of them are in foster care.
So a typical advocate, and like I said, this you may not know off the top of the head because I'm kind of just raising this. Mm-hmm. How many cases would a typical advocate have? 1 to 5? And then how much time should an advocate expect to spend on a weekly basis?
We ask CASA volunteers to have 1 case at a time so that they can focus on the aspects of that case and the children involved. National CASA allows 2 cases, but we rarely do that. The time depends on how many kids, because you're assigned to a case, so it could be 1 child, it could be 4 children if it's a sibling string.
In the home, you could.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the first month you have the case is the most because you're reading everything, and we estimate that that's about 10 to 12 hours that month. Going forward, it's more in the 3 to 6 hours a month range depending on how many kids there are and how frequent the hearings are.
I see. So I imagine, because this can be complicated, there's a training process to go through, and then how does one become an advocate? What's the
Great.
process?
Well, you submit an application and volunteers must be 21. They have to pass a background check, which includes criminal background check and child abuse registry check as well. And our pre-service training is a 30-hour curriculum. And that is a combination of online learning and then in-class sessions. After that, they are sworn in by the judge and can be, and then are assigned to a case. CASA volunteers get to pick the case from our list. We don't say, oh, next up, Barb, you want to be a volunteer? Next up is a case with 7 kids. It's yours. We don't do that. And so they can find a lot of information. All of our training schedules for this year are on our website. And that's www, of course, CASA, the number 4, Lancaster.org. And there's a volunteer tab. There's the application is on there. The schedules are on there. The last page of the application packet is kind of a nice list of here's the requirements, here's the responsibilities. And then, you know, everything is a screening process from then on.
So are you an advocate for life then, or is this something that's renewable every year, or you don't sign a contract to do it for a certain amount of time, or how does that work?
We do ask volunteers to commit to 1 year.
Okay.
Most stay, almost all stay for the duration of their first case, and then about 60% take a second or subsequent case. We renew background checks and everything every 4 years.
Oh, okay.
So we've had volunteers that have been with us for 10 to 15 years.
Oh, that's really good.
So,
So for more information, you kind of shared the website and all that, and on how to get more information. But do you have a special event? How do you get your funding? Do you have special events, that sort of thing?
I write a lot of grants. We have events. It's interesting to talk about events when we haven't had them for so long. We're a United Way agency. We get some county grants. There's some state funding that is statewide for CASA. So there's different avenues there. But we have an event that we're bringing back this year. My staff wanted to bring it back. I'm going to put it on them. They're all runners, but in 2015 was the last year we had this. It's called the Donut Dash for CASA. And basically, you run, eat 12 donuts, and run some more.
I love the 12 donuts. The running, I'm not so hot on it. So.
It's a lot of fun. What's great about it is that you can register for the event as a participant, where a casual participant, where you can come pick up your T-shirt, pick up your donuts, go home, watch the race, walk, whatever, or as a competitor. And if you're a competitor, you're timed. Somebody watches you, how many donuts you eat, all of that wonderful stuff. We are finalizing details on it, but we do have a date and a location. It's September 24th in City of Lincoln, Mahoney Park.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we're really looking
It's not too hilly, as I recall.
No, no. So it's a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it.
So a little bit more about the kids. I always want to go back to the kids. So child welfare right now in Nebraska, there's been a lot of turmoil lately.
Yes.
So I imagine it's needed more than ever. Do you have to have a certain capacity for advocates that you can support with your staff, or is this kind of a non-ending thing?
And that's a great question, Barb, because we are running up against our capacity. Our current staffing, we have 4 of us on staff, and there are limits with National CASA. So we are looking to add to our staff and are still looking to do that. But right now we feel like we have some additional capacity available, and so we can advocate for more kids.
And do the kids age out at 18, or what's that? Does it start, I imagine, from birth? Does it go that
we have a lot of babies right now.
And then it goes through 18?
19,
19.
actually, in Nebraska. So, and we have quite a few older youth, and working, we have a lot of volunteers that love to work with older youth, help make sure they're getting life skills. What's the plan once you turn 19? Trying to help them navigate as many roadblocks.
So at 19, then you're basically through.
We're through.
But you will help them transition to another organization or other.
Yep, and volunteers have the opportunity, if they want to stay in touch with their CASA child, it's between them, the guardian or parent, the child, the youth. And a lot of our volunteers stay in touch with kids that they advocated for years ago.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today. Is there anything else that we should have brought up that maybe you'd like to add real quick?
No, just that there's a lot of families hurting out there, and our numbers are up, and we continue to see that. And if people want to help, there's a lot of ways they can help, and so we appreciate that.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming today, and to the audience, thank you for coming today. And remember, there's always time to live and learn with seniors.